Hello everyone, my name is Katie and welcome to the No Name Academy. These are some short videos on the new OWASP API security top 10. A lot of these vulnerabilities are going to be familiar. There's not too many changes, but there are some interesting additions and merges. You don't need to watch these videos in any order, feel free to skip around as what interests you, what you need to know, and what you might already be familiar with. So this is API10, Unsafe Consumption of APIs. Now this is similar to API6, Unrestricted Business Flows, but while that one is about that output from an API, this is about the input into an API, particularly from another API. So if you're familiar with the idea of prompt injection, where you are able to adjust how an AI prompt works because it's calling just a API like ChatGPT API, and that third-party API is trusted to return good and secure data. This is what we mean by unsafe consumption. It's that bringing in other APIs and trusting it to be secure. But if that API isn't secure and we trust them, it can really open us up to another attack. So again, we can look at a full system here, and a system is rarely only one API, backend logic, and database. It's got all these interconnected layers. So, for example, if we have an online store, we might assume that the products in that online store, the product names, the images, are not malicious, that they are just regular names. However, while we might assume they're safe, what if a user has gone into that online store, has a vulnerability in it, and is able to inject an SQL injection payload into the product name? Is that then going to reverberate into our system, even though it comes from a third party? Are we introducing a security risk by using them? So many APIs assume data from another API is trusted and will use it and will consider it safe. However, if the attacker compromises the API or the third-party API has a vulnerability, your application could also be vulnerable if you are consuming that API. And again, this depends on the vulnerability, but it could be something like remote code execution, like for example log4j in a dependency. It depends. It depends on how that is being used in your software. So why is this an API issue? So how do we look to resolve these? So do consider if a third-party API is necessary, and audit any third-party APIs to ensure that they are. Commit to resolving vulnerabilities in open source software that you're using, and be a part of Commit to resolving vulnerabilities in open source software that you're using, even if you're not necessarily supporting it. Don't blindly trust user or API supplied input, and don't allow an API input to be used in a sensitive context, such as an exec, where you might be executing code. And don't rely on a WAF alone, because for these third-party APIs, a WAF alone is not going to solve these kinds of vulnerabilities. If you're worried about these types of attacks, No Name can help. Its runtime protection can detect and block API attacks with real-time traffic analysis, while its active testing allows you to test for API vulnerabilities within the development lifecycle before they are deployed. Thank you very much, everybody. And if you sat through all 10 of these, thank you very much for listening, and happy hacking.